briefly just introduce myself and my colleague Sadia first. We're both involved in running digital technology adoption projects in the Humber area. I'm very proud to do so. Have been doing so for the past year or so. Personally, have a long-standing passion for what technology can do for us and how it can improve our business and personal lives. So I am a unapologetic fan. Today, just looking to explore some areas to consider some of the immediate as well as long-term changes that will present challenges as well as opportunities for us. Some of these obviously are well known, some of these perhaps less so. But ultimately, the aim is to to help stimulate thinking, help you consider how to adapt your business model and to build resilience. Not everything you see will be directly relevant, but hopefully it will sort of encourage sort of thinking and so on. Try to include some practical tools and techniques that you can use to think about how you can introduce those changes to your business, things you can use sort of straight away, and how digital technology may help. And we'll talk a bit about the digital technology support available through the Humber Growth Hub towards the end of the presentation. So I think there's no doubting that we've been through some pretty tough times and continue to do so, and probably will do so for in the foreseeable future. And my intention isn't to underrate or underestimate any of the challenges that we're facing, and clearly that's going to vary depending which sector you're based in, current circumstances, and so on. But obviously, these sort of times situation does offer opportunities as well as threats, and often it's going to be how we respond to those as to how we can recover and thrive into the future. So just a little bit around protocols. We've used this particular technology this application partly because it allows us to see you and to participate. So feel free, if you wish to turn your cameras on. I would just ask you to mute while the presentation is going. But if there is anything burning that you want to ask straight away, or an observation you'd like to throw in, please do speak up. Or I think there's a hand raise option as well. And I will stop periodically through the webinar to pick up any questions that you include in the chat. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you again for investing the time to join today, and so keen to make it as interactive as possible. Okay, so what's changed? I guess in a word, certainly over the last 12 months, there's plenty really. There's been big trends that have hit us since the pandemic struck, and really a lot's happened in a short space of time, and that includes things like the way we work. Again, depends which sector you're in. Some changes are more marked than others. I know personally I've worked remotely from home for the last year exclusively, so not worked anywhere else, and I know others are in the same boat. But also we've changed our habits around things like the way we spend. Some of that's enforced because of the absence of sort of traditional retail stores being open, but what's been termed as non-essential retail, and also where we spend. And there's some big changes there. So, and some of these will continue into the future, of course. But picking up one of the things alluded to there, the home working aspect, people and businesses have learned that home working, is much more possible. Some of the fears around things like productivity and being able to maintain standards and what have you have been dissipated. Clearly, it brings its own challenges. Partly depends on your own setup in your home and so on, and what's available, but it's led to, you know, fundamental shifts in how we spend some of our time. So the absence of the commute into the office or into our place of work, and also how we value things. There's a lot of things we've been deprived from being able to do over the past year, but actually, yeah, how we value what we have been able to do, I think for many people has changed, and has led to changes in behaviour as well. Some other trends we've seen, who would have thought at the point where everybody's talking about the potential recession, that house prices would surge, particularly in more rural and certainly out of city locations. And you know, certainly there's been a move, people wanting to move to the country. Certainly where I'm based in fairly rural Shropshire, I understand that most of the sort of, or at least half of the sort of potential buyers are coming from places like London, Birmingham, Manchester, and so on. So big shift there, because, you know, if you don't need to be in the office every day, or in some cases, or at all, and are able to work quite satisfactorily remotely, using and can get decent broadband and so on, then you know, there's a real opportunity for people to move outwards. Sorry, jumped ahead slightly there, and yeah, that links as well to things like talent attraction. So you know, certainly where you can look much further afield for skills, but also gives more opportunity for local talent to be able to find opportunities for again further afield. I know as a business at Winning Moves, we have three areas of main operation, but one of them is software development, and we've always struggled to find suitable people with suitable skills, unless we're city centre based, and we've traditionally been in Birmingham. But obviously the changes means there's opportunities for us to look much further afield, and of course that's just one example. Okay, easier for some sectors than for others. But the things that's led to other trends, you know, things like the advent of the home office and pods in the garden. You know, these things were around before, and people worked at home, but there's been a big surge in things like home extensions and investing in decor and so on, and getting better setups and so on. And you know, I think again, you can see that that's one area where the current challenges we're facing is bringing about opportunity. You know, there's been quite a lot of commentary about whether the end is nigh for the office as we know it. Personally, I don't think that will happen. But what is more likely is that we probably individually won't be doing the 5-day commute every day into the office, and you know, possibly space will be used more flexibly. Perhaps instead of rental agreements for whole weeks, it might be for 1 or 2 days at a time. And obviously, any organisation providing space, again in whatever industry that this is relevant to, the more flexible they can be, you know, the more successful. You know, there's an opportunity there to provide a different sort of offer for commercial landlords that can get it right. Attitude wise, you know, I think it was, you know, we used to work at home to get away from the office to try and get a bit more done, and to be more productive. Now we want to work in the office to get away from home, and just to get that balance, that social side, that creativity element with colleagues and planning and so on. So, you know, that time is likely to be more appreciated than perhaps it was in the past. I see it with our children going back to school this week. You know, they actually do quite like school, I think, most of them. But there's a real enthusiasm to get back and be amongst their friends, and to get away from homeschooling in their bedrooms. And I think, you know, that's likely to be reflected with how things will happen with work and businesses as well. but what that does lead to is, what do we do with our town centres? And, there is a threat, and we've seen it for a number of years now, where retail, high street based retail, has been under real pressure. The pictures here, they're all Humber based towns, which I'm sure you'll recognise: Hull, Grimsby, Scunthorpe, Bridlington, Brough. This, whilst it is there is a threat, there is opportunity there to reinvent and to provide more of a experience to people going in, socialising, and in some cases, in some areas, being able to enhance the visitor experience. So, it's what we're going to do about that to try and make that a reality. I think as well, we've seen a trend because we haven't really been, most of us haven't been able to go very far, the revival of neighbourhoods. So there's certainly sort of more sort of relationships with our neighbours built, and that community spirit and what have you. And that, there's already been some studies undertaken on it. Interesting finding from reports and research by Accenture that 80% of consumers feel more connected to communities than they did before the pandemic. Now that will probably reduce somewhat, but some of that changed feeling and approach will likely remain into the future. So, if that is a potential opportunity for your business, how will you take advantage of it? And this is interesting as well. This another of the big consultancy firms doing research come back finding that 34% of consumers say they will purchase more locally sourced products going forward, even if they cost more. Again, I think it will have affected a lot of us. I know we're spending a lot of time in our local village, going to the to the different sort of the greengrocer and the local supermarket and various other shops. And sometimes the cost is a little bit more, but you save a fair bit in travel, and actually the quality is higher, and the person experience as well. You do get an experience. You are talking to the shopkeeper, and you feel more of a connection, even with the advent of the masks. So it's moving away from supermarkets and made us very, very sort of cost conscious, as had the internet. You have that ability to find out the price of different things and compare different providers very easily. So again, is that a trend that can help your business? Is there something to capitalize upon there? I think we've also seen, changes to social and environmental attitudes. Again, for the sort of research, life seems to have simplified a fair bit, as to what actually is important and what isn't, what you miss and what you don't really. And more than half of consumers are saying they're going to prioritise time with their families after the virus has been contained. And this is interesting as well. There's certainly a lot more awareness about mental health and well-being, and how we look after ourselves a lot better. Again, a large proportion of consumers saying that that COVID has helped them focus on that. How will they continue that in the future? And with more individuals focusing on this area, what does that mean for your business potentially? Again, 70% of survey participants said they were more aware than before before COVID that human activity threatens the climate, and that and causes issues. We're all seeing it in terms of things like climate change. Sometimes it almost feels like we're living in films of things that happen in real. What you see in films is happening in real life. The pandemic, some of the climate changes, really odd weather at unusual times. Places like Australia, I guess they do tend to see extremes, but I think last year had started with forest fires, quickly followed by floods, and then they were hit by COVID. Obviously, albeit not as severely as the UK and other countries. But these are, we're seeing this more and more, that these extreme weather and changes, and that sort of, there's this connection between socially driven disasters and social approaches and environmental disasters. So again, whether this level of attention will remain after we return to whatever the new normal looks like, this will be very much more in people's minds. So I'm just going to take a breath and just to open up to see if there's been any sort of questions or comments so far. Yes, let me just see what's in the chat. Oh, okay. Sorry, I think you dealt with yeah, good, Gary. glad the audio sorted now. So yeah, so no sort of questions, sort of direct questions or comments posted as yet. But if anybody would like to unmute and any points to make, very happy to take those. Otherwise, we will stop at regular points as we go through. Okay, carry on then. So, so other changes we've seen, so which potentially have an impact on our businesses, things like how we interact with technology, of course. So, yeah, although this was, there's no doubt that online shopping was a trend before the pandemic. It's been increased even more so since. So. 49% of consumers shop online, which may not seem like a huge number, but actually, if you think, if that's starting to spread across other generations, certainly sort of, I think, our younger generations are more, they've been brought up with technology and buying online and interacting with technology. Perhaps some of us, us older ones, it's it sort of emerged in as we've gone on in life, but yeah, that's a significant number of consumers, almost half now shopping online post in the period that sort of followed the pandemic. And the pace of change has been very quick as well. So, there's lots of estimates of this. I think we've all seen it, but it's suggesting that what might have taken several years happen in a matter of weeks. Businesses literally sort of changing tack and having their whole workforce working from home. Other businesses, what's been called pivoting their offer to try and survive and try and provide services and products during this difficult period, have done so extremely quickly, whereas previously it would have taken a long time. What else will change once we start coming out of this period, once lockdown finishes? This is a bit in contrast to the personal service and experience that we're gaining with more local shopping and going to our local villages and what have you, where 79% of consumers now say they'll continue to use self-checkout or increase their use after COVID. So I would suggest that whilst we many of us appreciate the personal service, that sort of, rather than the faceless transactions, at some point there'll be periods where actually we just want to get the job done. We want to buy what we need to buy and we want to move on quickly. And that might be, for example, if you do work in a city or work somewhere where you're literally just nipping to get a sandwich or whatever you eat at lunch, you just want to get it and go. So automation is absolutely fine. So it's picking, where a relationship is needed or where automation can actually add value to your offer and help you stand out, help you sell more. And yeah, self-service isn't new. It's not just supermarkets, is it? It's airlines, hotel check-ins, hotel and airline check-ins, and so on. I think it's working on what's for your customer journey, or the experience that your customers go through in their interaction with you. There'll be some points, and this is from before the relationship builds, how they find out about you. is it physical? Do they walk into a store, or do they? How else do they find out? Is it a website, and so on? And there'll be certain points on that relationship where they have awareness of you. They've got interest in buying what you sell, and then they move towards making a commitment of making that first purchase, and then the ongoing relationship. And there'll be elements of that will be driven by them, some driven by you in terms of things like use of social media, marketing activities, and so on, relationship maintenance. But it's having a look at that. And we've got a model later on that we've been using in our support of businesses that looks at the customer journey and different touch points. So I'll elaborate on that a little bit later on. And a little tool that hopefully you can use successfully within your own businesses, just to start mapping out, and make conscious decisions about where you want to physically interact with your customers and where you're happy to digitally interact with them. I've got a short video I just want to share with you now about a new service or relatively new service that Amazon are releasing, called Amazon Go. Again, this sort of flies in the face of that sort of personal service, as you'll see from the video. But this is the plan is that around 30 of these new Amazon Go stores will be introduced to the UK, with lots more plans to follow thereafter. So let me share this. I think we've set the sound okay. Yeah, sit back for a couple of minutes and just get a flavour of this for those of you that are not heard about it or not familiar with it as yet.
Four years ago, we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go? What if we could weave the most advanced machine learning, computer vision, and AI into the very fabric of a store, so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go. Use the Amazon Go app to enter. Then put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically. So how does it work? We used computer vision, deep learning algorithms, and sensor fusion, much like you'd find in self-driving cars. We call it Just Walk Out technology. Once you've got everything you want, you can just go. When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon account. Your receipt is sent straight to the app, and you can keep going. Amazon Go. No lines, no checkout. No, seriously.
Okay, I hope you found that interesting, for those of you that haven't sort of come across that before. And in some ways, you might think, well, that doesn't. How relevant is that? But actually, there will be. Once that's once they do launch, there'll be the spread will be through not just more Amazon Go stores, but it'll be through licensing the software to others, which will become more prevalent. So it may seem a little obscure, but perhaps things like that are closer than you might think. I do like the name of the technology though, walkout technology. I wonder how long that took to come up with. So I guess it passes the RON seal, does what it says on the tin test. Okay, the other trends we're seeing in terms of before the crisis, I think most people would really want a face-to-face, wouldn't necessarily trust online technology for patient consultations with doctors, but that really has switched, and you can see the variety there, and actually for many people because of the threat of the virus and associated nervousness, this is a much better approach. And you know, there's efficiencies there that can be gained, as long as the service obviously is at least as good as you would expect in a face-to-face consultation. You know, it's an area where that can potentially drive some real efficiencies in the NHS. And you've got things like, you know, health tech apps like this, where you know, you can you have a pager that delivers a doctor to, you know, your family healthcare experience. So you know, that you can be monitored. Your health can be monitored using the different technologies that we have readily available to us, providing 24/7 out care, and linking the use of things like artificial intelligence, chatbots, and data. You know, linking records and using data more effectively. We've seen the you know, this perhaps isn't quite so new now almost, but artificial intelligence driving personal training. You know, software scans the body to help you do it right. Can also do things like identify ailments and so on. And you know, through the pandemic, a lot of personal trainers have moved online. So a slightly different approach then of actually reaching out and delivering sessions through you know, technologies like this, Ring Central, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and so on. Again, done in the right way, can really extend their reach and their offer to, you know, far more than perhaps than delivering a class or a series of classes. You know, and it's not to say that they won't still be required, but it just gives a chance to have to provide other, you know, other elements to the offer. This is quite, again, some more research that they wanted to share with you. This is quite interesting that that sort of, there's quite a busy slide there, and I think if anybody wants them, we'll happily share the slides afterwards. But what it shows is that jobs that have been identified as most likely to be automated in the future are actually also those that have been more likely to have been supported through the furlough scheme, which suggests that you know, that move to automating some of the tasks and roles will be, you know, will certainly won't slow down, and if anything will accelerate. I think there are some exceptions to this. You know, things like delivery drivers versus, you know, have the demand for those has peaked, and you've seen things like car hire companies, you know, using their vehicles to deliver packages to help meet demand. But in the slightly longer term, you know, there's a potential risk there for drivers with things like, you know, there's been talk of drones, which I think we all probably thought was, you know, sort of fairly space age when it was first mentioned a few years back, is now much closer to reality. You can see, you know, places like, I think it's in Milton Keynes, where you've got automated delivery of supermarket shopping to local homes and so on, all done on your phone. And autonomous vehicles, of course, that the development of those continues apace as well. So there's you know, there's obviously roles that that are likely, or elements of roles that are likely to disappear. But hopefully the intention has got to be then to fill those spaces, and with higher value roles where you know, where sort of individuals have the opportunity to add more value and of course earn better salaries. Again, just going to take another breath there. Just take a quick look to see if there's any sort of observations or questions in the chat. I don't think there is, but again, I'm going to take a sip of water. If anybody feels would like to unmute and share any comments, I'm more than happy to receive those, or any questions. Okay, I shall plough on. So it's quite interesting, I think, in terms of an element of the economy. I put economy up there, but actually thinking more. Forgive me, I'll try and get control of my mouse in a moment. Yeah, got it. Okay. it's more about sort of productivity. There's lots of talk about UK productivity lagging behind our peers in Europe and the States, Japan, and further afield, based often on things like the number of sales per employee. So, and what we've seen is that there's a lot of businesses that their productivity, relatively low number, display sort of high performance, high productivity, profitability, and high productivity. And lots of businesses demonstrating the opposite. Now, the graph, if I go to that, so you can see there that there's a large sort of number in terms of this business density of businesses that actually their sales per number of employees is actually relatively low. Big sort of number there, but then as you get to the sort of the higher levels, it levels off. It's less marked for organisations that export. That might be because they, you have to get certain sort of processes and quality levels and so on in place, and almost forces those disciplines. So exporting does lead to across the board to higher levels of productivity. So I think whilst there's again, as I said at the beginning, I don't want to sort of downplay. So there's, what many people have been through, the challenges that businesses have faced. In this particular regard, hopefully, that COVID-19 can, for some business, provide a jolt and an improvement in productivity. For those businesses that do emerge, many would have pivoted to other offers, which are still available to them when their normal demand returns. So, having innovated into new areas, overall, there's an opportunity for them to see overall growth in their sales and the size of their business beyond what they saw before. So there is opportunity there, but of course, that brings about the challenge of how do you manage that increased increased demand. Forgive the quality of the picture. Actually, I only added that. Now I'm actually looking at a big screen now. It looks a bit pixelated, but anyway, hopefully you get the picture. I mentioned this model earlier. This is a depiction of a customer journey. So, and the customer essentially goes through. This is when they're starting to find out about your business. So, and it's a split between digital, between touch points that are digital and non-digital, and those that are what we've called earned and those that are managed. I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment. But you can see here the circles that are sort of completely filled are those managed. So that's managed by you as the business, whereas the striped ones are where you earn from other sources. So so things like PR, you're relying on others to talk about your business. But managed touchpoint, if you appear on radio, advertise, TV, print, and so on, outdoor banners, you're completely controlling that. You're paying for that. But word of mouth, that is an earned touchpoint. That you get that from, providing a good customer experience and people speaking to one another. Of course, often recognised as the best form of marketing. Now, one other thing I should just make a distinction between the physical touchpoints are. Not surprisingly, a non-digital, because the digital touch points are at the top. So these are things like actually radio and TV. I think you could say that is to some extent digital touch point. But the digital touch points, when you're going through that initial attraction of looking to attract new businesses, things like online display, search, paid content, email, website. These are all elements that you control. Whereas social media, yes, to an extent you control it, and third-party sites, but others are influencing the that touch point, as it were. So in social media's case, things like retweets and shares and so on will determine more than us posting something on posting onto things like Twitter and LinkedIn. Others sharing it is where you get traction and generate more interest and so on. But then, you know, things like direct mail, store branch, agent broker, these are areas you control. And then going back to more digital, the digital touch points, you know, the mobile app, a website, the web self-service, a portal of some sort. But things like community and Twitter and what have you, those are, you know, they're earned. If you're going to do well in those environments, you know, you need to earn that. You can control things like chat as well. And then the other. So I won't go through them all, but just maybe an interesting exercise for your businesses and a useful model to look at, you know, break down your customer journey into, you know, where customers first become aware, they consider buying from you, they make the purchase, then you're providing an ongoing service and hopefully building loyalty in the long run. You know, which touch points are you using and which are physical, which are managed, and have you got the right ones in place? Are they effective? You know, are they delivering what you need them to? You know, and are there, you know, are there others that you could potentially introduce? So I hope that would be useful sort of post the webinar. I think there's, you know, generally there's going to be a lot of things that personally that I used to do, but probably that, you know, that I now that I now and want to keep. I didn't used to do and quite enjoy doing now and want to keep doing. Conversely, there'll be a bunch of stuff that probably won't go back to. You know, so that, you know, there's lots of change there in terms of social change around how, you know, how we spend our time and so on. So again, just an opportunity for any questions. I'll just if there's anything in the again, see if there's anything in the chat if I can. Yeah, can't see anything added. So again, also just take a sip. Please do unmute and raise a comment if you'd like to. That's fine.
Hi, Mark. It's Gary.
Hi, Gary. Hello, Gary. Hi, how are you doing?
All right, thank you very much. Really interesting so far. I really like that model that you had there. I'm going to look at that definitely in detail. But just wondering if you think the move over to digital has sort of missed out, sort of missing out a little bit, maybe with opportunities we had previously, certainly on the selling front. Whereas before there'd be interaction at the point of sale, sometimes now there's less interaction and therefore less opportunity. I mean, I sell in two different ways, or present my product in two different ways. One tends to be very much face to face and very much, here's what I've done for you. Do you like it? Right, what would you like to buy from it? But the other model is very much a digital online, more for, I guess, public audiences really, where I'll maybe take photographs at a show, a presentation, a public event or something, and then I'll post pictures online with a watermark that's linked to a lab and a digital service to be able to download and people pay online, which is more, and there's, you know, very, very different opportunities there.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because I'm with you. I actually I always thought that if you I do some business development activities as well, and I always think it's always thought it was, you know, pretty essential that at least at the beginning of a relationship, if you possibly could, it was, you know, it was good to sort of meet people face to face, because you build that rapport and, you know, and it's you get to know people that much better. I have to say, I still think there will be this is my personal view, is I still think there will be a place for that going forward. But I've actually been surprised at sort of how many new sort of business relationships and so on managed to develop over the last year purely online, having never met anybody, you know, having never met people physically. So I think I do agree with you. I think I think you do lose something, not being able to do that. But I guess maybe as we all get more familiar with, you know, the use of Zoom and Teams and WebEx and all the others, perhaps we're just getting more comfortable, you know, more comfortable with it. I guess for yourself, it's that's one sort of element of your business that would have really hit that, I guess, in terms of, you know, that personal selling side. With, you know, of course they buy the quality of what you're doing, but they also buy, you know, you as a person as well. Yeah,
very much. I guess maybe the answer may be something in line with sort of a hybrid situation where you've got personal contact, but very much you have your facilities available also online, I guess you get a bit of the best of both worlds, and different people will feel more comfortable with, you know, technology. Other people will feel more comfortable with wanting a personal one-to-one service. So maybe having the two together actually is the way to go.
Yeah, I think you're I think you're right. It'd be interesting to see the sort of, you know, the what level of nervousness there is afterwards as well, because I guess some people will be, you know, sort of champing at the bit really to get in and amongst people again, and sort of, you know, to start, you know, just get not necessarily socializing, but even, you know, even sort of, you know, rediscovering the business relationships. And I guess others will be a bit more nervous about it. We've certainly been thinking about it with sort of larger events and ones we attend or deliver, and you think, you know, you don't know whether at this point. So we're planning for something, I think October time, broad loosely at the moment, and you think actually at that time, you know, will people be, you know, will we be getting back to normal? Will there be, you know, even if we're all vaccinated and you know, the cases have dropped, hopefully dropped completely. I hope they finish, but you know, even if that's happened, will there still be a residual nervousness? It'd be really interesting to see people's attitudes coming out of this, I think.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Gary. That's great. Okay, yeah. So just moving into the next slide. So yeah, you know, there's an opportunity, I think, to really consider business models. I think partly links to the customer journey we mentioned, and you know, Gary, what you've kindly just shared there in terms of thinking about actually how are we going to interact with businesses, but also, you know, what does our business model look like? You know, I think going back to the slide I had before, which you know, which shows lots of businesses that perhaps the sort of sales per person employed is relatively low. In many cases, and for many of us, you know, where we're sort of competing in a sort of in a sort of highly competitive area where there's high supply, but relatively low demand. You know, it's not the ideal place. This is stating the obvious, really, but it's not the ideal place to be competing, because what happens is to stay in that marketplace. Of course, you know, you've got to be doing more and more, providing more and more value, but at the same time, you know, getting keener and keener on price. And there may be opportunities for efficiencies in terms of saving costs to try and offset some of that, but mostly when you're providing more value, it tends to come at a higher cost. Of course, where we all aspire to be is in this area where, you know, we're providing a service that's you know, where there is the demand is relatively high, but the level of competition is that much lower. And it's looking at sort of finding ways of differentiating ourselves to be able to work in that area rather than the other, because ultimately, obviously, only one can be cheapest on price. And with all the information we have these days about where you can get things cheaper through the internet and what have you, is finding ways of either differentiating the service or offer, or how, you know, you present your service or offer. How is it going to be different and better than the competition? And you know, to developing more scalable business models where, you know, the operating costs don't go up with the sales, so you're not just much busier for a similar amount of profit. It's generating those sort of business models where you can actually see, yeah, by selling more, we can keep our costs nice and stable, and grow, not just grow the revenues, but grow the profit levels as well. And that all sounds dead simple if I say it like that, but we've again, and hopefully this will be a useful model you can use after the webinar. We've devised this what we've called grandly a digital transformation model, but in essence it's a structure to enable you to look at your business really in terms of where digital. We've obviously looked at it with a sort of digital technology hat on, and looked at where digital can add value to your business. I think one thing I would say is that, you know, we always try when we're working with businesses, you need to understand the business as well, because otherwise there's a danger, like any any tool or any sort of any initiative or application that can help a business, unless it's in the context of where the business is going, how it's performing now, then it's then a bit hit and miss as to whether it has impact. So hopefully you'll find this useful. Very briefly, we've got 5 areas, and it actually does divide up as a way of looking at your business as well. But the value drivers are about what the leadership of your organisation and to how its attitude towards technology and how technology can be included within the organisational strategy and culture. Now, I know if you're a much smaller business, then there's still if you're like a single person business, there's still that sort of approach. Actually, how can I include technology, different technologies, and which ones are going to make a difference? There's no point having it for technology's sake. Then you've got this area in the middle, really. These 3 elements is more about your customer journey, really. So the initial part, value capture. So how are you going to attract businesses and how technology can help? How will you retain them? And then hopefully, help then to drive growth within your business. The value creation, that's your offer, really. So that's your product and service, and as again, stating the obvious, and I think been stated many times, people don't necessarily just buy what you sell. They don't buy that widget, they buy the service, they buy your offering includes how quickly you can deliver, what the quality is, what the relationship with you is, and so on, all of those good things, how ethical your offer is, how sustainable the materials, you name it. So your product or service is much more than just the we always use widget, don't we? So I'm sure we'll come up with something else at some point. But it's not just about the widgets you sell or whatever your product or service is. It's all the surround stuff as well. So and again, it's looking at how digital can add to that. Can it form a part of the how your customers consume your product or service? And then you've got value delivery. So this is the areas of, the skills within your organization. Are they right? Do they need to grow? What are those additional skills you need? How do you collaborate with, for example, your supply chain, so your customers or your suppliers? Can technology help to slicken up those processes and make them more efficient, so they're more reliable? You get a better quality, you get stuff on time, and so on. And also your processes. So can you use things like moving to the cloud, and are there sort of technologies you can use to help be more efficient and more effective? What technologies are out there to do that? And the last bit is about protecting it already. So the model looks at things like data security and of course things like GDPR, but also cyber security. We've been running, as a result of the COVID, we've run about sort of 70 or 80 webinars over the last less than a year, and one of the striking ones I remember was about cyber security, which says that as a small business we are actually more likely to get hit than not, and which was quite sobering to say the least. So becoming a really, really important area. It isn't an area most of us like to talk about if we have been hit at any time, if we've been defrauded or something has happened, so or held to ransom, whatever it happens to be. So that's clearly critical in this digital age we live in. Making sure that that's all in place. And again, I won't go through these in massive detail, but just broken down a few slides to just sort of some of the questions you might ask under these things. It's not an exhaustive list, so do think widely. But as I say, just stuff you can use afterwards to challenge your own business. So what if you look at your business model, are there different ways of doing things? Things like and the model to attract more loyalty. So for us, say software wise, what's better for us? Is it better to do to build individual different digital products, or is it better to build our own and license those out? Things like that. Is there different ways of sort of encouraging loyalty and providing different ways for your customers to consume what you do? Looking forward, and I guess we are all sort of with a short window on the future at the moment, or a focus on a short window at the moment. Is what's going to happen over the next 6 months, and how can we be quite agile and responsive to what happens, because nobody knows. Of course, nobody knows 100% about what's going to happen in the future. None of us have got a crystal ball. But given what we do know, how are we going to respond to what's likely to happen? My bullets are obviously a bit out of order there. But also, what's your vision for a post-COVID future? So, where is your organisation going to go? But also, how does technology play a part? And how will you engage and communicate with employees and partners? Again, just some ideas, just some things to think about. There will be others, I'm sure. In terms of value creation, so this is your product and service. So, do you need to make any changes to cater for different social attitudes and trends? How can you use digital technology to enhance products and services? Again, some of our other webinars seeing some really neat ways that can be done. And a lot of it, though, when you're new to this stuff, it seems quite a long way away. But actually, if you see good examples and then do a bit of research around how to implement a piece of technology or an application, quite often it's easier and less costly than it might have first seemed. How can you, if you have generated new demand for new products and services that you've offered in the period, how can you sustain the demand when your core demand returns? In terms of promotion, are there customer groups and markets who will value your products or services more or less as a result of the change that we've been through? And again, how can digital play a role? And how can you capture market share quickly as demand returns? Going across, things like, can you automate processes across the customer journey? Using that model we spoke about before, that's finding that right digital and physical touch point balance, because we've seen there is that desire for some automation sometimes, but the physical the personal touch is of course important as well. And also, how do you access the right talent? Do you do it in traditional ways? Do you employ people with technical people to come into your business? Are there opportunities to outsource some of that? And also, perhaps some of the roles that folks are delivering at the moment, could they use technology better to help your business to be more automated? And therefore, what skills do they need to learn? And last thing, in terms of data, data security and compliance. Actually, there's one thing I didn't mention. We also consider things like accounting software that within this. I think anybody that's used QuickBooks or Xero or any of the other online accounting tools will say is, it does make life a lot simpler and helps you to keep to keep your finances much closer. There's nothing worse than sort of working on the basis of seeing what the accountant comes back with with the balance sheet and profit loss at the end of the year. I think those days are gone. What you need now is having that stuff right. Where, as I say, at your fingertips, you can see what your cash flow forecast is looking like, what the sales are going to be over the coming months, and where there's outstanding debts, and all that good stuff is really key. And the technology allows things like payments to be made much more easy and much faster. Of course, with the flexibility of managing remote teams, also brings challenges around how to keep them safe and keep your business safe as well. And that's obviously an example there of there was I think particularly at the start of the pandemic, perhaps it's been less publicized recently, but employees working from home getting scanned and so on. So how do you protect from that? Okay, so I think in terms of the sort of formal slides and content, that's pretty much sort of taken us to the end. So again, there'll be another opportunity. It's got a few more slides to share a bit of information about some of the support available in through the Humber Growth Hub briefly. But again, anybody, I'm going to see if there's any in the chat. No particular points, but again, anybody like to unmute and share any thoughts or their experiences or any questions at all? Okay, I shall move on. What I will do just quickly, if I may, is we, of course, as part of what we do, is very keen to see how you've found things. So I'm just going to launch a poll that will run in the background just to to capture your feedback on how you found the session today. So please do be honest, and yeah, welcome your thoughts and feedback. That will just capture in the background. Only take a moment or two, but yeah, feel free to please do complete that and let us know. So firstly, just going to touch on some webinars that are upcoming. As I say, we've delivered loads over the last year or so. There's I should say there's quite a lot of recordings now on the Grow My SME website, which is run by the Humber Business Growth Hub. So do have a look on there and see if there's any topics that that are potentially of interest. We've run all sorts. There's different streams for this, but we've obviously focused on ICT, what's called ICT for growth, and it's been all sorts really. It's been good. It's things, everyday stuff like moving to the cloud, identifying the right CRM, cybersecurity, of course, has featured digital marketing, partly us and partly there's a marketing stream as well. But also some of the more emerging technologies as well. So harnessing virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and so on. So quite a mixture. Obviously, there's a huge variety of things. But we've got coming up next week. We have this, and this is currently the slot that we're using, Wednesdays at 1 o'clock. We have a presentation on women in technology. We have two ladies that are forging ahead in the technology industry, which remains a fairly male-dominated industry. They've got really good sort of information, tips, and experiences to share. Both based in Germany. One works for Airbus. The other lady, I can't remember the top of my head, but two big organisations where one's a project manager, the other one's involved in the software development. An agile software development team, and there'll be almost a bit of a conversation. So it'll be really interesting. So please do join us for that. With the following week, we have a locally based, Hull-based business who will be talking about how they have developed a technology to capture people's moods, actually. They and just using a simple application. I think the sort of surround story to that is really really interesting. They're called Moodbeam, and they're based in Hull. That'll be fantastic. And then the 31st of March, we're looking to fill. So we've got a couple of options that we're considering. The events will then go on through April and May, and hopefully beyond. So please do keep an eye open for those on the website. We do try and keep them varied and areas of not just things you can necessarily use in your business, but hopefully stuff that's quite interesting and topical as well. In terms of the Digital Catalyst Specialist Support, so this is a program of support we've developed to help Humber-based SMEs to adopt any aspect of digital, really. So pretty wide ranging. It can go from, as some of the things we mentioned, choosing the right CRM and finding it, or an ERP, enterprise resource planning system, often used in manufacturing, and other technologies, cyber marketing, selling online, you name it, as well as harnessing things like use of data, and some of the other areas, Internet of Things, with things like wearable devices and so on. To be honest, most of the interventions are at the other end. So it is things that you can do to make yourselves more efficient, or to add to your offer to sell more and so on, which is not surprising given what we've been through. But we put together a team of digital technology specialists who, and we look to find the most suitable one for the particular requirement of businesses. It's completely free of charge. It's a minimum of 12 hours of advisor time. Doesn't mean you have to spend 12 hours, but they will spend a minimum of 12 hours working on and supporting you with your business. I think the important thing, and you probably gather that from my intro, is that one size doesn't fit all. That's really important. So we are the last thing we would want to do is to come in with a solution looking for a problem. So there's a real danger that you know, that then just becomes a sticking plaster, or perhaps might even do damage. So we really do try and initially understand your business. We go through an initial digital maturity assessment, which also tries to understand aspirations and current challenges and opportunities and all that good stuff. And then try, you know, look for areas that prioritize the area, your digital roadmap with you. So look at what you were looking to do over the coming period, and then perhaps prioritize spending the support time on those things you're going to work on in the near future. So, you know, we can look to find suitable providers, or, you know, source the market, which saves a bunch of time. But the great thing with our technology specialists is that they've been there and done it. So you'll cut out a whole bunch of time, you know, that you would have to invest yourself to find out the right solution and scale the markets. So briefly, yeah, they'll help you to identify how technology can help. Normally, a typical project, they'll do that initial review, analyze with you your business, have a look at you know, processes, systems, customer journeys, you know, and so on, all in the context of where you're trying to get to. And then we'll be looking for identify suitable cost-effective solutions. Technology providers, obviously with an eye on the budget. There's plenty of free stuff out there as well, of course. So we'll source that wherever we can. I should say as well, there's no allegiance to any particular technology or any vendors. So it is literally what is best for yourselves and what's going to most meet your business needs. And then the implementation plan. So they will normally take you to a plan to help you identify, you know, what what the technology is, how to source it, how to purchase it, and also thinking ahead in terms of how to manage that going forward. So it is about sort of identifying key opportunities and pain points. So I think I'll probably sort of just going to mention some of this, but you know, it's also understanding the knock-on effect that will have on your existing infrastructure. So there's no good coming in with a technology solution that, you know, that doesn't work with everything else you do or conflicts with it. But it's about identifying those technologies that will integrate with existing systems and processes, and how to look at how to implement that technology on an ongoing basis. And I'll flick through this because I think I've mentioned this. These are the sorts of projects. It isn't exhaustive, but just to bring it to life, the sorts of things we've been involved in. So digital marketing and social media, selling online as well is linked to that. But you know, things like cybersecurity, introducing e-commerce, and so on. So you can see that, you know, implementing customer relationship management systems, but it is much wider than that. But it just gives a flavour of the sorts of projects that we sort of look to help with. So why, you know, the features of Digital Catalyst in a nutshell. So it's impartial one-to-one support from an expert. I won't read all of those, but I suppose the message is we really do want to have a positive impact. So it's not just about coming in and having, you know, finding out some interesting stuff. It is about, you know, doing things with you and hopefully sort of getting you started on activities that are going to really help you to work more efficiently and effectively, develop new products and services to expand your sales and enhance the customer service and the customer offer and so on. So it's about making, you know, it is about making a difference to your business. We'll also look where we can to broker in additional support that through the Growth Hub, and look for any grants and funding that might help you to make those initial technology purchases. There's an element of hand-holding to get started. That's always quite valuable, I think. Hopefully it's providing a shortcut to get to the right solutions, which I think I've already mentioned. And ultimately, you know, going through the process should help to, you know, for yourselves to become a better IT customer in the future. So you'll know more what to look for and how to specify what you need, but also to scale the market better. Our contact details, if you're interested to find out more, that's telephone number. We've got a dedicated email address, and of course there's the website growmysme.co.uk/ICT/digital catalyst. So please do be in touch. We're very keen to help. I would say we've actually on the current iteration of the program, we're pretty much at capacity, but we're just waiting on an extension. So if we can't support you immediately, it should be within a sort of very short space of time. And of course, just finally to say, Grow My SME provides a wide range of different support options. things like grants and investment advice. There's some great programs around sort of helping with business growth. They've got some really good advisors as well that can help with mentoring and provide support and facilitate through change. And you know, we see there digital catalysts. We sit amongst, there's a supply chain program and also a program Scale Up is basically dedicated to help businesses achieve growth. So all really good stuff. And you know, just going for one doesn't preclude you from getting support elsewhere as well. So some really valuable stuff. Okay, that's taken us through to the end of the sort of the content. As I say, I'm very happy to share content, share the slides afterwards, and so on. And also happy to take any final questions now, if anybody, or I say questions, so actually, you know, just more interested to hear about your experiences and observations as well, if you're happy to share. But yeah, very much appreciate the time that everybody's invested today. And as I say, happy to take any final comments.